Recruiters tell a lot of stories. Here's one you probably haven't heard. In the 1870s, the cavalry was introducing a new weapon to their arsenal. It was called the Gatling gun, and it was supposed to revolutionize the nature of warfare. One general resisted the idea of the Gatling gun, said he couldn't see wasting his troops' time on newfangled inventions, and besides, he probably didn't need it anyway. The general probably regretted that. Not long thereafter, not far from here in the Black Hills, at a place called Little Bighorn. The general's name was George Armstrong Custer. Noisy things. It takes a lot of teamwork to get one of those F-4s off the ground. In fact, every time an Air Force plane takes off, it's because so many people have done their job so well. An important part of the team are the people working in the munitions career field. They're the ones who test the systems and maintain the weapons and load the bombs and guns onto combat aircraft. And it's at their job we're going to look more closely.
One bomb come off at half-second intervals off of each selected station. Go ahead. Okay, see the difference there? Okay, now let's go to C.
You and me.
Okay, what's going to happen here is they're going to stagger from left to right, outboards, then inboards, then center line. Hit your bomb button. Again, they're at half-second intervals. Okay, the bombs are coming off at 0.05 of a second apart. Hit it. It's clean.
This is where munitions training begins, at Lowry Air Force Base in Denver, Colorado. The classroom training here is designed to last 13 weeks, but it's self-paced, and most students have been finishing in about 10. Some exceptional people have finished in 3 weeks or less. There's a lot to learn here, from basic electronics, circuits, volts, watts, to the sophisticated armaments on fighter aircraft. Here, airmen learn the machines and the procedures that they'll use when they take their place on munitions crews throughout the world. The training situations here are intense. It takes high qualifications to get in, and a lot of hard work to graduate. Master Sergeant David Galvin tells us about the 4-6 career field.
The Aircraft Armament System Specialist starts out with a course that everyone is doing the same thing. They're getting their basic knowledge. Then after this, they're split up depending on what area they're going into. Tactical Air Command, Strategic Air Command, or Aerospace Defense Command. And these courses vary in length. You get electronics, you get aircraft familiarization, you get into the technical orders, learning how to read electrical schematics and diagrams, and working with the equipment.
The only thing you're allowed to do as a 462 for that unit is to take it out and put another one back in. As far, you cannot check out that unit itself. It has to be taken in a P-mail and they'll do it for you.
In the 462 area, the Aircraft Armament System Specialist, you could find yourself on the flight line as a load team member, and their duties include the pre-flight or pre-check of the aircraft, the electrical system, the inspection of munitions, and loading. The 461 is a munitions system specialist. These people could be working out in the bomb storage area, moving munitions around, storing them, assembling them. You have people working in the dispatch area. They control the vehicles, the maintenance, the munitions that need to be assembled.
We're on the far side of the flight line at Lowry Air Force Base. Of course, there aren't any airplanes at Lowry anymore, but at most Air Force bases, the munitions storage area is in an area like this. This is the other side of the 4-6 career field, the munitions storage and moving. Sergeant Johnson is in charge of the training here. What goes on here, Sergeant Johnson?
Well, as you know, in the field, our job is to store and maintain munitions items, build them up and deliver them to the flight line so the 4.62s can load them on the aircraft. Our training here is directed toward what we will be doing in the job. This morning, we've got a couple young airmen will be, as the course requires, unloading this loaded turf from a transport vehicle.
We are very mechanized. We have a lot of equipment now that is powered. We don't have to pick up bombs and raise them up. We have equipment to do this.
The reason I come in the Air Force mainly was for schooling. Before I come in, I really didn't have that good of a job. Since we got married, I've been working swing shifts and graveyard. And about the last 2 months before we came in, I got a job where I was working 8 to 5. It was really great, but it wasn't the pay, and I wasn't learning enough, and I wanted to learn something, and that's why I come in the Air Force. My dad always said, if you're going to go to the Air Force.
Oh, I'm from Hamilton, Indiana, and clear through high school and through college, much of those years, I had always thought about joining the Air Force and never gotten around to it. Got out of college and decided to join the Air Force. It seemed like a rewarding career, and I've enjoyed it so far. The training seems pretty decent.
Hundreds of students go through the training block here at Lowry, and it's a self-paced program, so they're all working at individual paces. Now, for the student to keep track of where he is in the program, and for the school to know where each student's supposed to be, that kind of information can only be handled on a computer, like our friend Igor here. Igor is part of the database system that's managed by Sergeant Glatt. Sergeant, what does a computer system like this mean to the individual student here?
Well, what the actual system can do for the student is, once he fills out his form that he's performed, done his lesson in the class, he comes out and runs it on the B terminal that you looked at earlier. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to ring up a student and show you exactly what he will receive on his copy that he will get. What we have is a student who is in Block 5. His home carol seat is 51, which is actually a seat number where he's supposed to be sitting. He finished Block 14, Lesson 1. He's completed it. It shows the time he completed it, the Julian date. It tells him, congratulations, you completed this lesson. Now his next assignment is Block 0, AIS test forms. So now he's going to go to this next lesson, and it gives him exactly where he should be and what his test number will be, and it tells him, good work.
What are you working on, Dave?
Gatling gun.
What is this used in?
Mostly fighter, bomber, tactical airplanes.
Where are you in your training now? Are you about finished?
About 3/4 of the way through.
Mm-hmm. And you've covered this and what other sorts of things?
Basic electronics and missiles and bombs and that sort of thing.
Now, about the electronics, did you know about electronics before you came in?
Yeah, quite a bit of it. But it was still helpful, you know. It's mostly basic stuff, refreshing memories.
What brought you into the career field?
I came in the open electronics field, and this is the job they gave me. And I'm really happy with the job. I think it'll be an exciting career field.
The training received at Lowry really pays off in the field, like at this munitions maintenance shop in MacDill Air Force Base, Florida. This is a 20mm cannon, the type that goes on an F-4 fighter aircraft. Sergeant Tony DiGiorgio repairs and maintains these cannon. Tony, what do you think about the career field and working on this kind of machine?
I find the career field very interesting because I feel like I'm participating in the Air Force. It's what the Air Force is all about, and I enjoy doing the work, and I enjoy seeing the end product work.
Why don't you go ahead with your check here?
Yes, sir. Okay.
The
work is physical, heavy, especially on the bombers. The equipment is very heavy and huge.
The work's hard. It gets pretty routine. It's too hot, too hard. A lot of heavy work.
There's times and commitments and missions where we have to load regardless of what it's doing outside.
I remember one particular cold, windy night. The wind was blowing and it was cold, and we kept calling control and saying, "What's the wind chill factor?" And he kept saying, "It's 59 below, Sarge, so just hang in there." And we hung in there at 59 below for a few hours.
Flight lines are some of the worst places to be. There's no trees, there's always wind, there's no shade. So you're facing, from time to time, quite a bit of adversity.
Okay, this is an AWM-34 tester. It's used to test out most of the equipment here in the shop, release type equipment. It does tell us where the malfunction is, if there is a malfunction, if the systems are acting correctly, if there's any fluctuation, the resistance is too much, too less. And going back to the troubleshooting guide in the TO, we can find out what to do to eliminate the problem. And if the electrical and mechanical checks, functional checks, are operational, then the equipment's sent out to the flight line for in use.
Myself, personally, I have gained a lot of electrical experience in the field.
What's this test here, Sergeant Dixon? What are you doing here?
There's a multiple weapon systems checkout for all the stations on the aircraft.
All of the weapon systems being checked out now?
Right. Through this machine.
How often do you do this thing?
We do 2 of them a week, and we do every aircraft on the base annually.
An explosive accident just doesn't happen.
As long as you're careful and follow directives that have been established, the job is completely safe.
Nah, it don't bother you after a while. You don't ever think of it.
The job is really quite a bit safer than driving your car or any other thing you do day to day.
I would say the promotions are better than average in the 4-6.
The opportunity is there for a man to assume supervisory responsibilities considerably earlier than he would in the civilian environment.
Maybe as a buck sergeant and as a staff sergeant, and then you go from there to being a flight line supervisor, then maybe a shift supervisor up to a section supervisor as you progress up.
The competition that takes place annually throughout the various commands, such as the Giant Sword for Strategic Air Command, is kind of an incentive. It instills the competitive mood into the people. You want to have the best load team in your command. So you work hard at it, and naturally the people who do compete through elimination are the best that your base or your command have to offer.
If you enter the 4-6 career field and you find yourself assigned to the Strategic Air Command, you may take part in a competition like the one you've been seeing here at Ellsworth Air Force Base, South Dakota, to compete for the title of Best in SAC. All of the activity out on the flight line comes into focus here in this room. Behind me is the situation board for Giant Sword, and all the points are totaled for the various competing crews. Later on, this room will be filled with crew members, excited, anxious to find out who's going to be named Best in SAC. These team members take their jobs and this competition very seriously.
Some of the people that you see around sporting many stripes on their arms are really fine leaders and people you're proud to say are in a field that you're in.
General Custer may not have thought much of the latest in armaments and munitions, but the modern Air Force does, and there may be a place for you in the munitions career field.